Nikki. I'm so excited to have you on the UNDUNN podcast today.
I am excited as well. I am.
And I want to introduce you to the audience. Nikki is an award-winning actress, writer, singer, and author. You're also a deacon, is that right?
I am.
From Atlanta. Nikki is the author of Change of Heart and recently released an interactive study guide entitled Time for a Heart to Heart with God. Nikki is extremely passionate about writing stories that encourage readers to share their truth in hopes that they will receive release and breakthrough. Nikki is also in the process of organizing a foundation called the Healing Hearts Foundation, which will mentor and encourage young girls ages 12 to 13 who are currently or were victims of child sexual abuse. Join me in welcoming the amazing Nikki Miller to the show. Nikki,
yes. Hey, glad to be here. Glad to be here and share my story.
Yes, Nikki, let's dive right in. So you were born and raised in Florida. Isn't that right?
That's correct. That was correct.
What were your career aspirations as a child? What did you dream of being and becoming when you were a child?
When I was a child, I always dreamed of just being on a stage. I started singing, well, put it this way, my aunt saw that I could sing, and they pushed me to lead this song at the age of 5 in church.
Wow.
So I did it, but I believe that, you kind of find your talents around that age. You kind of see what you like, and then it kind of hones in as you get a little bit older. So I just found my passion has always been in entertainment. It's been either singing, and then I found myself being in choruses, then being a cheerleader, and then and then doing theater work, and then finally got into doing acting and things. So I just believe that I was always supposed to be on stage. It didn't end up that way, not until like now, but yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. I was also a cheerleader in school too. So
you were?
Yes, I was a cheerleader. Little league, and then in high school.
And then in high school, that's when I was cheerleader, high school, and then I was a majorette in my senior year, which was pretty much that was fun as well. So I've always just had a passion to pretty much put a smile on people's faces. So I always smiled as a child.
I can definitely see that. You have that knack. I can definitely.
Oh, good.
Yes, Nikki, I want to talk about the book a little bit.
Yes.
Well, not a little bit, but a lot.
Okay.
What inspired you to write the book that has now been adapted into a film? Is that correct? It's a film already, or it's in the process of being a film?
It's in the process. So what happened, and then I'll get into what inspired me. So I wrote the screenplay first, and then God said to turn it into a book while I wait and put it into production. So what inspired the story is just at home one year, that was like in 2013, I believe, was watching the news, and there were a few men that were being arrested on that day, but there was one particular young man, I think he was in his early 20s, late teens, that was arrested for rape. And that particular young man just struck a chord in me. And I was like, what caused him to do this? What's causing him to want to rape? And not to excuse what he did, but I'm like, there's always like a root cause for that type of behavior. So I started thinking, was he molested as a child? Did somebody do something to him? So then I started thinking even further, and it brought about a memory of me being molested as a little girl. And if I had not, met God, had an encounter with God, I could be right now depressed, could have been an offender doing the same thing. You know what I mean? So if I had not had that, then, where would I be? So I started thinking about that, and I'm like, what can I do to change, to make a change, or to help?
Right.
So it didn't come up right then on what to do, not until like 2015 when I started writing. I didn't know what I was writing, didn't know why I was writing, had never did a film, had never did a stage play, which it started out to be. I thought it was going to be a stage play until I had a table read, and they were like, no, this is a movie. I'm like, okay, Lord, you're going to have to show me how to do a movie, because I don't know how to write a screenplay. So to skip things along, I researched it, turned it into a screenplay, but still at that time, I did not know why. Why, God, why this story? And not only that, how's this going to help somebody else? How's this going to help somebody? So it wasn't until I finished the screenplay in 2015. And actually it started out with the title of Broken But Not Forsaken. But after praying, after a lot of revisions and just kind of being in the entertainment field, as far as on the film side and just learning, it evolved into the title Change of Heart, Never Say Never. Right. And it wasn't until 2017 when when I did a retreat that my church does called The Encounter in 2017, I broke down and cried at this retreat, completely like never before, broke down and cried. And at that time, I released the family members that abused me. That's when God said, now you're ready. And it clicked. This is why he gave me this story. Right. This is why he gave me this, to help others in the world, because it wasn't always about me. Right. It's always how we can help serve others. Right. So that's what inspired the story. And then he kind of even broke it down into the categories of, what this particular story is going to do. Yeah.
Wow, Nikki, that's amazing. So I want to go back a little bit, because you talked about yourself being a victim of molestation as a child. Right. Did you heal? And obviously you did, because you said at church you broke down and that was your time when you knew that you had to put it out. But talk to us about your process of healing. And I also want to ask you, is there a timetable in forgiveness when someone not necessarily does something like to this, effect, right, but if someone does something to you, to whatever, right, it could be. Is there a timetable to forgiveness? But if you could talk us through your healing process, and then the second part, is there a timetable to forgiveness and healing?
Sure. So I believe that what had occurred to me, that there were isolated incidents, what occurred to me, but I believe it was suppressed. And those visions did not occur to me until in my, I would say, early 30s. Visions started coming and I would start crying. And I'm like, I'll ask myself, why did that happen? Or, not to blame myself, but I was like, why me? So I would start crying. So I kind of would get those visions and then just like sweep them off. I was like, okay, that happened a long time ago. Okay, that happened a long time ago. So I did not really get my full healing until that retreat, because I never knew that I was still carrying that on my heart. I never knew that I was still broken and hurt from that until that retreat. But I've learned in the process that I had to actually say, I release, I forgive. And it still has been like a process. So sometimes it doesn't end right there at that time. Because actually from that moment, God also told me, okay, now tell your parents. I was like, 47, was he 26, 2017? 47, 46. And he said, now tell your parents. So that was another thing, another instruction that he gave me during that time. Another thing he gave me was, okay, now set up a 501c3 foundation. And this foundation, it was clearly what he said. This foundation will mentor girls 12 to 13 years of age
Right.
that's been sexually abused. So this is the process that he's taken me along.
Mhm.
So it's a matter of, I think, just embracing what has occurred to
Right.
me.
Right.
And that was that time at that retreat that I did that. And now I can truly say that, I'm free of that. I can talk about it now,
Right.
which
Right.
is what God has done for me. So, and to answer the question about the timeline, I don't feel that there's any timeline with God. Not with God. I just feel that it doesn't matter at what point you come in and you ask that forgiveness. I don't care if you're 5 years old, a teenager. I don't care if you're 99 years old. God is going to forgive you at that moment. So there's no timeline when it comes to forgiving or releasing a person. I think it just comes to where you realize that it needs to be done. Again, you embrace what happened to you. Now, what's the next step?
Right.
And moving forward.
That is so good, Nikki. That's really good. This book, Change of Heart, Never Say Never, it focuses on all the things, all the hard things, right? And like,
yes.
And especially in Black households, you're kind of told, well, go on in this house, stays in this house. We don't talk about it. Our business outside. So I want to ask you, it talks about infidelity, child molestation, anger, reconciliation, forgiveness. What do you hope people will learn from this book? Or that, because it's been out. So what do you hope people will learn that are new to, finding out about the book? And what was your hope in putting this book out?
Well, I'm going to go with what God want to have happen with this book, what he wants to see with this story. So my heart is to, again, help others to heal from past hurt.
Right.
No matter at what stage it was in their life. It doesn't have to be sexual abuse. It could be from any hurt.
Right.
Any hurt. So it's to help others heal. Number 2 is to kind of show a correlation of what unforgiveness can do to you. And how the enemy uses that bitterness and anger against you and against other people that's close to you.
Wow.
And number 3 would be to just to teach or to bring awareness of just parenting and fatherhood, how important that is, the importance of that with a child and bringing the child up. And then, of course, number 4 would be to educate and bring awareness about child sexual abuse and not holding that back, about speaking up, when that happens. Not just child sexual abuse, but it can be trafficking. It can be, domestic violence, but not holding that, because keeping silent does more damage to you in the end. So it affects different people differently. So like I say, had I not had that encounter as an adult, I could be, depressed, having suicidal thoughts, and would never know what it's coming from. Right. But knowing that a lot of things happen to people as a child that they don't realize it. A lot of their hurt, it happens in childhood. Right. And they carry it over into their adulthood.
And Nikki, why is that? Why, I want to find out from you, why do you think that childhood trauma shows up in us as adults? I talked to a therapist about this on the podcast a few weeks ago, and we talked about childhood trauma coming back up, and showing up in our adult lives. Why do you think that is? That, what we suffered from a child, and we think that it's all gone. We think that, like you said, I'm fine, I'm good. That's all I got it going on, blah, blah, blah. But you really don't, because you have this trauma that you have not dealt with that is coming up and it's showing.
Yes.
Why do you think that is? Is it because we don't deal with it as a child and we sweep it under the rug? Why do you think that it shows up?
I think you said it. I think the sweeping under the rug is really a suppression.
Right.
I think it's suppressed. And sometimes I believe, sometimes it's pressed for our own good, because we wouldn't know how to handle it as a child. But then I believe too, it's because it's just not addressed like it should be. It's not addressed properly like it should be when it happens. So I just believe that's the reason why that it messes people up, and people are walking around angry and bitter because it just wasn't addressed like it should.
And Nikki, do you think that it's due to our upbringing? Like, I know that I'm 37 and I feel like I'm having to relearn so much of the things that I was taught, not to discredit my mom or my dad or, the parenting. They did a great job with what they had, with what they were taught.
Yes.
But it doesn't necessarily mean it was right. You get what I mean?
Yes.
And so I feel like growing up, like I talked about, we were told to keep things in the house, or you don't go and tell what's going on in the house. And again, suppression, right? Because you're not, or if something happened, you would be afraid to say because it's like, one, are they going to believe me? Two, I don't want to cause any trouble.
That's it.
So again, I'm going to keep it to myself. So the secrets, right? Do you think that has stifled us in the Black community? I'll talk about. Do you think that has stifled us? The whole notion of keep what goes on in this house, don't talk about what goes on, keeping secrets.
Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. I think that's totally what it is. That's totally what it is. It's because a lot of things is just like you say, you don't talk about it. Like for me, I believe I just didn't tell it because I didn't want to cause trouble in the family.
Right.
I didn't want to cause trouble. I didn't want to get nobody in trouble, and I didn't want to cause trouble. And I think that's what it is. You don't want to be the one to say, oh, look at this child. Did you see what they said? Did you hear what happened to them?
Right.
I think it's that, and just being probably ashamed, depending on what it is, probably ashamed. And I think that's what it is. But a lot of Black families do sweep things under the rug. And I do think, even other races also sweep it under the rug as well. I know it's very, that's very high in art with Black families. It's very high. So it was just something that, like you said, we just didn't talk about. We just kept quiet. I didn't want my parents to go beating up somebody or kill somebody, but I think it was just that. So you're right.
And do you think now, Nikki, that we are given just where we are as a people, as a country, just where we are with social media and the whole Me Too movement, speak up? Do you think now people are not staying silent? If something happens, do you think now, even in families, people are, not afraid to speak up about, okay, that wasn't right. That didn't feel right. I'm going to tell somebody. Do you think it's different now?
I think it's come a long way, but I don't think we are there quite yet. I think there's still some work to do. And I believe, which is the reason why I have this story to go to the world, because, I just think it's not out enough. So even like child sexual abuse, I mean, I may have seen it sometimes, when it comes to family and, or really people that's close to you. I may have seen it like on a TV show here and there. I may have seen it in like a movie or what have you, one movie or two movies, but I don't think it's out enough. So it's I would say it's gotten better. It's gotten better, but it can be better.
Right.
It can be much better. So, and I think the more people are made aware, the more people are talking about it, it will get better.
This book, I think, does that. Such a beautiful job at telling the story. Is this based on a true story that you are familiar with, or people in the book based off of characters that you know? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so, absolutely. So the book is, I would say it's, based on like real events, but not necessarily my story in particular. So it's based on like things that I've seen or heard growing up. Like it talks about like being in church. So I will, watch people, and it's funny, little funny parts in there about the deacons. I would sit there and watch the deacons like this while they be praying a long time, and then go home and copy what they were doing. You know what I'm saying? So it's stuff like that I grew up around. Like I grew up with, cooking food. Like my parents would have the food done like on Sunday, and all you have to do was come in and warm up the food. They did the cooking on Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
So it's stuff like that that I've watched and then I've seen growing up, not necessarily in my family in particular, but I have seen it as I've grown up around me. So
Right.
that's what it is. So it's real life events, but not necessarily my story. Like for the sexual child abuse part, I use a boy instead of a girl.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because I know that it happens to boys just as much as it happens to girls. So I kind of wanted to highlight that instead of a girl. So yeah.
And you created the study guide to accompany the book. How does the study guide help to break down everything that is unfolding in the book? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Oh, the study guide. I have to say, God gave me an amazing piece. All Him. The study guide just kind of actually have you to dig deeper into really about yourself, to see if your heart is in the right place, to see if there's any areas that you need to work on. There's also a couple of games in there. So I didn't want it to be like all serious the whole time. So there's even some games in there. So this study guide can be used as a group or as an individual. And it just breaks down. It just breaks down a lot. Like there's a title in there called Man Up, you know, where we need to man up, kick the devil in the face and man up, you know, have some faith and get to it.
Say it now.
So there's a chapter in there called Man Up. It's, you know, forgiveness. And it's something in there for every chapter of the book, So yeah, it's just a book to where you can just really dig deep into your heart, dig deep and change it if it needs to be changed.
Definitely. And are there practical tools that we can use from the book, or that you have even that may not be in the study guide, but are there practical tools that we can use to apply, you know, forgiveness and apply to our day-to-day lives?
A good tool that I would say, and not saying, because I know everybody may not believe in God or, you know, may not pray as much, but a good thing to do is to, you know, kind of embrace or realize if you've hurt somebody, to go ahead and face it at that moment. Because when you hold it, that's what builds bitterness. That's what builds anger. And then each day it goes by, you're really angry at the person. Now you ain't talking to the person no more. You know, you're being mean and you don't want to hear from them. So my thing is just kind of, you know, realize that you've hurt somebody and apologize, you know, apologize is forgiving. Right. That is forgiving. It's not like, you know, I forgive you. Apologize is forgiving. It doesn't mean that you forget. Right. And I want people to know that doesn't mean that you forget what was done. And then what I want people to realize is that forgiveness is not for that person that offended you or that hurt you. Forgiveness is for you. It's for us to keep our sanity, to have our peace, to have our freedom. Right. So I think that's a practical to just remember that it's not for that person. That person, it doesn't mean that person is getting off scot-free. Right. For what they did. So it's just a matter of when you do your part, God would do the rest. And that's what I say. God, His wrath is much more worse than what we can do.
Amen. Amen.
So He would do the rest.
And Nikki, I have to ask you, with the person that molested you as a child, did you tell them that you forgave them? Were you able to have the conversation, or was it just in your heart and with God you forgave? It was
in my heart that I forgave. So it was addressed and handled. So from there, it was just, you know, I have peace about it. I have my freedom about it. Now we're like, you know, okay, where do we go from here? And that's to help others. So yeah, I received that freedom because that's what it's all about. When you receive the freedom and that weight is lifted from you, that's when you know that, you know, you're good. Right. You're good. Right. So yeah.
And then I want to ask you also, so in our forgiveness, right, when we forgive and it's not for the other person, it's for ourselves, does that then open the door for opportunity to let them back in? Or how does that work? Because what if somebody has done, done you wrong in a way, whatever it may be, and
Right.
you have forgiven them, you guys have spoken and you have talked to God. Do you now allow them in, or do you forgave and you move on? Or is it a case by case basis? How does that work?
It's a case by case situation. It depends on the person.
Mhm.
You may be okay with letting them back in.
Right.
And if that's what your heart desire, what you would like to do, I think that's fine. I think that's fine, because in the end, we're supposed to still love everybody. We're supposed to forgive everybody of what they did.
Right.
And if you don't want to let them in, that's okay too. That is okay too. And that's just the way I feel, is because you've done your part. You've forgiven, you've released them, and you've done your part, not just here on earth, but you've also done it with God. You've done what you was required to do.
Right.
So it does open that door if you allow that to, and if not, I think that's okay as well.
For those people who aren't, but who don't believe in God, or, have a relationship with God, what can they do? What resource can they tap into? Therapy, you may say, but what can they do if they're dealing with or battling forgiveness, or they're trying to navigate life in a space where they have bitterness in their heart? What can they do?
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer, and I'll do my best, because I'm only going by my experience. I can tell you, my experience by it. And I couldn't have done this by myself. Let me put it this way.
Right.
And I know people don't believe in God, but I had to ask him for help.
Yeah.
Because this is something I couldn't have forgiven by myself.
Right.
So I think for them, it's like I kind of said earlier, if they just realize that they have been hurt and acknowledge it, that they have been hurt, instead of suppressing it, that's the first start. That's a start right there. Right. And if you don't, pray or know God, therapy is good, but some people you see turn to alcohol. Some people you see turn to drugs, and those things are just numbing. They're not taking that, that weight away from you. Right. So I go to the Bible as well. I read the Bible as well. And if I did not read the Bible, I don't believe I'd be where I am today as well. Because every time I'm hurt, every time I'm going through something, I find something in the Word that I can lean on and continue to, speak on it to help me. So again, that's my experience. But like you say, if somebody don't believe in God, I just feel that first they need to just acknowledge what has happened to them. Right. And if they need to seek therapy, seek the therapy. That's what the doctors, are for. They're for that. But I don't know. Try praying. Just try it. Because people always think that it's a Father in heaven. I pray right now. No, it's just really talking and communicating like I'm talking to you. Right. And I think that's, people get the wrong idea of God. Right. So he's just, he's just trying to be your friend.
Just try.
He's just trying to be your friend. He'll sit there and listen to you, even when you're sitting there talking to yourself. You're being heard by somebody. You're being heard. So.
Hello, somebody.
Yeah. So that's what I would say.
You well said. You broke that down perfectly. Well said, Nikki. Nikki, what did you discover about yourself in the process of writing this book? What did you learn about Nikki in this process?
I learned that I could write.
First and foremost, right?
Yes. I did not know that was in me. That is first, and seriously, because God just dropped the bomb on my lap, and I'm like, okay. I learned that to never give up, because I never gave. There were many times I wanted to give up, And I just learned that, you know, with God's help, I was able to birth this and even take it a little bit further, you know, with the book, with the study guide. Like each thing was a stepping stone. Right. And what I learned is that God would only give me just a little bit every time. Each step, I passed that. I passed this. You know, I would, you know, learn how to put the book together. I would, you know, learn how to publish and, you know, learn how to do a sizzler, because I did a sizzler for the film. And each little thing he would add on. So that's what I learned about, you know, if I commit and just say yes, God, he did the rest. I know you're trying to rhyme. I'm not trying to rhyme, but you know.
You rhymed. I love it. You rhymed. I love that. I love it.
That's what I learned about myself, and to, you know, and even writing this helped me to continue to my process of healing. It was a process of healing for me as well. So just as I'm writing for the world, I'm also, you know, getting my healing too. So that was a process.
And Nikki, what advice would you share with people that will watch this they have a story in their hearts? They have a story in their minds, or they want to tell someone else's story. What advice would you give them on, you know, putting pen to paper and taking those thoughts that are in your mind and in your heart and creating something that will, like you did, help other people? What advice would you share?
Yeah, I'm actually mentoring a few people at church that want to write and say that they've come to me and say, hey, I have a story, I have a journal, and I tell them again, man up and write it. Write it. You know, write something every day. You know, if you don't feel like writing, I always say, you know, get started. It's not going to get started with just the paper and the pen sitting there on the table. You're going to have to pick up the pen, start writing, or go to a computer and start typing and get your story going. So don't be afraid, number one, to write. No one's saying you have to like put it out there in the world yet, but it's good therapy to even write stuff out. Just write your story out. Right. You know, read your own story. Let it sink in. Right. And I would say, just don't give up. Don't give up. No matter what. There are many times, like I say, I wanted to stop writing. I'm like, oh, this is too much. I can't do this. And my strength and my spirit just say, you know, nope, you got to do it. You got to do it because people need to hear it. People need to hear. So yeah, it's just a matter of just doing it. Just like Nike say, just do it. Just do it. Just do it.
And do you feel like knowing that it was from God and it wasn't about you, although you healed from it, it was for somebody else?
It was for somebody else.
Pushed you to keep to not give up and keep going because you couldn't stop.
I couldn't stop. And actually, since I've done this project, there have been several people to come to me that say what has happened to them, that they were abused. Not just women, men as well have come to me and say, you know, I was abused. And it's like they're talking about it, you know, where they might not would have talked about it. Now they're talking about it. So yeah, that's what gets me going and complete this project that I'm doing. So
wow. Nikki, when you aren't busy writing books that inspire us all, singing, acting, or just being a fabulous mom that you are and wife, you are busy mentoring. Can you talk to us a little bit about the Healing Hearts Foundation, which will mentor and encourage young girls ages 12 to 13 who are currently or were victims of child sexual abuse? Talk to us about this amazing foundation, Nikki. This is so good.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm still in the process of organizing it, and which is why this is kind of like my initiative. The book and the movie is the initiative. So I'm excited about it. I will be having, they will call, you know, these just different sessions. And this is like the little plan, you know, each month there will be a session, or we may do an outing or something, but I want to have like a private session. They would have to go through, being approved, and I would get recommendations from people, and I would have a review board to review those recommendations, and then that child or that young girl would be entered into the program. Until that time, because I'm still establishing it, I hope to have it running by 2022, mid 2022, hopefully. That's my plan. But I didn't want to wait for that. So I'm actually starting to mentor some girls now. So like right now, I call these sessions Lay It All Out.
I love it. Ooh,
Lay It All Out sessions. And during that time, like I'm doing 2 girls now, but one is 8 years old and one is 16. So those are important years, because especially the way things are now, you're trying to figure out who you are, what you are, what you're doing in life. Right. So I'll do, we've done lunch, we've done brunch. So during that time, I will ask, it's just me and them, and I'll say, you ask me whatever you want, whatever you want, lay it all out.
Right.
And they lay it all out, what's going on with their life. So I ask, find out what's going on with them. One was sexually abused and one is not, but I just want the girls to know that they're loved. They're loved, and love on them with the love of, with the love of Christ, and kind of just help them self-develop. My thing is, I want to teach young girls not to compromise. Go for your dreams. Go for your accomplishments, and without compromising. There's no reason to compromise, because if it's for you, God made it for you. He puts all of our gifts and talents in us. He's going to make it happen. He's going to make it happen for us. So there's no reason to, make yourself look a certain way, dress a certain way. You don't have to do all that. God will open the doors. If you just say yes to what he has for you, it will happen. So I want to teach young girls that as well. So they enjoy their Lay It All Out sessions. And so, like I said, I wanted to get started and then go ahead and open up the organization and get girls in. So, yeah.
Wow. Would you be open, or have you considered doing a Lay It All Out, like based around the book, with other people to come and talk and share their stories and lay it all out? I think that would be.
Not yet, but that's a great idea. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah,
and just imagine the book and like talk about it. The book is I think it's so important, especially now. It's timely,
Yes. Thank you. I do believe that. And like you said, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. And that's why I wanted to, like I say, the study guide to do, to be a group is probably more effective as a group. But like I said, you still do it as an individual, but it's more effective as a group because you kind of just bounce off each other, experiences off of each other.
Right.
So, yeah.
Ooh.
That's a great idea.
Okay, let's talk about it. Or invite me to the Lay It All Out. I would love to come.
Lay it all out.
Yes. And Nikki, like I mentioned, you're also a mom, and you're a mom of 2 and a wife. How has your family been a support system for you through all of this? All of what you're doing, helping other people to be their best selves and to heal themselves. How has your family been a support system for you?
Wow. That's an understatement. My family has backed me from the get-going, especially my husband and my 2 boys. My boys are 25 and 29. And my husband is, he has been the bomb and pushing me, motivating me, even when I wanted to give up. He'll, bless his heart, read over everything. I throw everything in his face for him to look over, and read. And they are always saying, you got this. We pray before we, do different things, interviews. We pray before that. We get together as a family and pray. And they've been there. They've been there from the beginning. From the beginning. So I helped put my husband through school and couldn't do a lot of the acting, and I couldn't do a lot of the what I'm doing now, like the singing and writing and things. And I would have to come in and out to raise my children.
Right.
So at one time, and I don't even know if I shared this before, at one time I felt like, God, what's happening? Why am I having to support my kids and my husband and nothing's happening for me? So at one time I wanted to even end my life because I was like, nothing is happening. What's going on? But I stuck in. I kept the faith. And that was only God that kept me. So even in those down times when I felt like crying, it'd be like I'd be driving and the song would come on to minister to me, in different ways, or something to be said. Somebody would say something. So that's kept me going while I was helping my family. And now it's my time. Now I've helped them. I've stood the test.
Right.
The race. And now they're helping me do my thing.
Wow. Nikki, that's amazing. That's beautiful. I feel the same way. I'll be having my moments. I'm like, oh God, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like this interview, like I was having a moment in full transparency. This UNDUNN podcast in full transparency. Yesterday, I was having a moment, just like, oh my God, what's going on? And I don't know. It's like I woke up this morning, had a great morning, and then you just brighten my day even more with your word. So God will do it, Moni.
He will do it.
Give you a little.
Just a little reminder. It should be just a little reminder. Just like I said, you hear a song come on. Somebody would just say something to you, or you may be reading, get revelation in what you're. Oh, that hit right there. That needed that. So it would be stuff like that would keep me going in those days that I'm down or what have you. And I still have those days. To be transparent with you, I still feel like, okay, Lord, it's nothing going on. What am I doing? I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and then I feel stuck. Sometimes I feel stuck. But again, I keep it going, and He'll always remind me. Always send a reminder. So.
Wow. And thank God that you kept going and that you keep going, because we need voices like you and women like you out there to help our young girls and us women,
yes,
going ourselves. Nikki, what's next for you? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Oh, in the next 5 years, I actually, of course, mentoring even more, more speaking engagement, because I'm actually for the first time speaking at a women's conference in June. That'll be my very first.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. So it'll be that. And then I hope to have some other movies out there. So I want to this is my debut family drama, faith-based family drama. So I want to do comedy. I want to do Christian comedy. I want to do animation. There's so many ideas that God has put in me. The books, probably do a couple more books, but my focus is actually like putting movies into production. I've also received scripts. People want me to produce their scripts.
Wow,
and I'm like,
Nikki.
I know.
You busy.
Well, let me get mine out first, get it out there first, and get just a couple of projects out there, and then I'll look at producing other people's scripts. So,
and even TV shows. I could see this as a series for sure. So,
absolutely, because I thought about that too. There's so much on TV that it's hard to watch, and I just think we can do. There's some shows that well, not shows. I want to get into that, but I would love to do a show that the family can watch and still learn from, where there's still a message in, but still be good, clean.
Right.
So yeah.
And Nikki, where can we watch the film, or when and where can we watch it?
Now, I'm actually hoping to produce it hopefully July, August, September, somewhere around there to get it filmed, because it's not filmed yet. But there is a little sizzler that's out there that people can see to let you know what it's going to look like.
Yes.
And there are actually 2 people on there on the sizzler that is going to be in the film.
Okay.
So one is Denise Armstrong. She's been on Greenleaf. She is She played the grandmother on the Kendra Brothers Overcomer movie.
Yes, yes.
So she will be in there. And then Jason Louder, he's going to be on there. And he played Two-Bits tenor on Black Lightning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he will be in there. Yes, and I'm also talking to the Arnett's, Cameron and BJ Arnett. Cameron Arnett was the dad, or he played the father on The Overcomers. He was like one of the main characters, lead characters as well. So I have my wish list, my dream. So hopefully they'll watch this.
Yeah, they
my
will.
Dream wish
from your mouth to God's ears.
Yes, my dream is for Kimberly Elise to play Elena in the movie, and then Idris Elba to play the main character in the movie. So that's a prayer, and I say I hope they will see this, because I do want them to play. I've dreamed of them, envisioned them in these characters.
Wow, Nikki, that's gonna be so. We are praying. I'm praying with you, girl. Look,
thank you.
I'm believing God too.
Thank you. And I will be singing, like that'll be like my debut. I was gonna do acting, but God said to sing, so I'll be singing in this movie in one of the scenes.
Wow.
So I'm excited.
You know, you're gonna have to come. I'm gonna have to interview you for my outlet about the film when it comes out. You have to come back.
Absolutely. For sure. Absolutely, because I got some great people working on it. Brandon J, he's has the group Hello Sunday and Pink Heart. So he's my vocal producer. He's my vocal producer for this song that I'm doing in the movie, which I can't release yet. And then I wrote, my son and I wrote a single soundtrack that my son is going to sing on, and he will be producing that one as well. So I still have to record that one as well. Wow. So I'm excited.
I'm excited for you, Nikki. That's going to be so amazing. I can't wait to dive more into the movie. And I'm excited for you. I'm so excited. Nikki, this was so good. Thank you so much for taking time. You blessed my heart today.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Before you go, do you want to play a little rapid fire game with me?
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's do it.
It's done in 60 seconds. What did you never leave home without?
What do I never leave home without? My wallet.
Okay. Hello. What would people be surprised to learn about you?
I like the gun range.
What?
Yes. I love going to the gun range, and I love to fish.
Don't run up on Miss Nikki. Y'all better hear first.
Yes. I'm a little feisty something, so.
Hello. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Let's see. The best piece of advice is to finish the course. Finish the course. And not give up. Not give up.
Who would you cast to play you in your biopic?
My favorite actress, Angela Bassett.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. The title of the book of your life.
The title of the book of my life? Oh, well, Change of Heart. Change of Heart. Never say never.
Never. I love it. I love it.
That's it.
That's it. What brings you joy?
Spending time with my family brings me joy. And then also mentoring the girls, and not just girls, just mentoring just them, little girls, but people that have something that they want to give for the world. Like you talked about stories and have a story to tell. That inspires me to mentor more and to help them to do what they need to do. Well, you bring us joy. You brought me so much joy today. So thank you again. Oh, thank you. You were so amazing. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. I'm so excited. I know the people love this episode. You dropped so many gems. Thank you so much, Nikki. Thank you for having me. To come out.